Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome inside the studio. Chad Rosema, as Evan pointed out, flying solo here on this Thursday night as we welcome you back to Mohawk Park for a 3-day stretch of racing action here. An exciting weekend ahead as well, because as we know, we're going to play host tomorrow evening to undefeated reigning horse there, Chantilly, as she faces a salty group of older pacey mares at the top class level, preparing for her next stakes engagement. So we've got that. We'll have more on that a little bit later on, plus, some more OSS. And then we're going to be diving into some Grand Circuit racing coming up next weekend as we get into the Peaceful Way, the William Wellwood. And you're going to see some of those horses, even on tonight's card, that are putting in their final preparations ahead of the eliminations next Friday. Don't mind this fly that I've got here with me tonight. Randy Waples, I wish he was here because he doesn't kill the flies, but he can catch them, and then he just releases them back out outside there. But it's amazing how well he is at catching them. Well, I need him to catch this one right now because he's going to bother me all show long. Let's go back to Tuesday. The last night Randy was here with John Rallis in studio. We had 10 dashes. Here's how things were playing out. Pretty speed favoring yet again as we see where the eventual winner of these 10 race programs were situated at the half and 3/4. The furthest one away was fourth in race number 5. We had quite a few of the, probable favorites that ended up seeing it through. James McDonald had himself a good Tuesday here with 4 wins on the program, including a win in the Pure Ivory with 1 bell. An impressive looking filly. That was her penultimate start ahead of the eliminations for the Peaceful Way, again, coming up on Friday. So looking forward to that. It was a nice night here on Tuesday. It was warm, but the wind was not any kind of a factor whatsoever. But yeah, quite a few of the speed horses able to see it through on the program. And although it was quite a few favorites coming through, well, that also means that we likely had a lot of winners on the card, as far as you playing along. But if you were into the long shots, maybe not exactly your night. Maybe that'll be a little bit different here tonight. I do have some price horses that I think are maybe worth a look on tonight's card. We've got quite a few 2-year-olds dialed up here again tonight in the OSS Gold, a pair of divisions for the 2-year-old Colt Trotters. We've got a final, the When You Wish Upon a Star, coming up a little bit later on as well, and some rookies on the undercard. So let's dive in. A lot of replays to look at. We'll start right in the opener, where we've got a bunch of visuals that we want to show you. We'll get you a look at what's going on wagering-wise. Nobody an overwhelming choice, but with that being said, there is really very little in the win pool. So take it for what it's worth, but I wouldn't put a whole lot of stock into it right now. It's not any kind of a significant number, any way that you look at it right now in here. But early favorite, lukewarm at 4-1. A couple of them in here. Interesting though, Wild Rose Hanover getting some attention. I did decide to include this one on the bottom. This is the Ron Waples Jr. trainee. That is a full sister to Wild Turkey Hanover, who he's found success with, and it was a bargain buy. This one, not a real expensive Harrisburg buy, certainly more than what Wild Turkey Hanover was, but Wild Rose Hanover yet to earn a check, but making progressions, and I thought was actually moving pretty well in her most recent. But we are going to start with a first-time starter that's getting set for her debut. It's the 2 Unsurpassable in her latest qualifier, because Blair Burgess took the Muscle Mass filly to Grand River for her first outing. It was a good one. Third there, 2-3 and change. And then James took over in the bike here, sat patiently in 4th. But what I liked about her is in the stretch, she comes home at 29-3. She's by no means stressed to do it, but the professionalism that I saw from her coming through horses, you're going to see her actually trot on in between a pair of horses to her inside and outside. Doesn't seem to bother her one bit. She comes on through, doesn't shy away from the opening. I mean, it's not like it's going to be the widest opening to come through, but she does it quite well in my opinion. I would say the connections were probably pretty happy to see her come up with this. She had been paid into some good things, but maybe just a little bit behind with her getting her career underway here in early August. She is the first foal from Superlative, that we saw the Walker team campaign here in the past, made $280,000. So Unsurpassable is going to kick off her career here tonight, and I won't be surprised in the least if she ends up getting a good piece of this. We're going to go a little further out as well, as we kind of just stay in order with the dates, and I want to look at Pat's Queen. Rod Hughes has got a Father Patrick filly, out of a good mare too, Cadabra Queen, a really good performer on the track. Now, this was her first pari-mutuel start here after a couple of outings at Georgia, and one of them where she made a break. And coming to the last turn, I know she's well back out of it, but just watch her trot in the stretch. To me, this is one that now when she gets to the straightaway and Bob kind of just, probably just chirping at her a little bit, she starts to move forward. I like how she's gaining, ends up finishing 5th, passes a couple of horses, comes home in 28-4. I know she's out of the shot now, but you'll briefly see her again at the end, and she's certainly one that's moving forward, doesn't miss an even better position by all that much. I just think there was something there, from Pat's Queen in the stretch. A young filly, obviously, that's just learning her way. She was given no shot in there as far as the odds were concerned, but she caught my eye in the stretch, and I think this is one that I'm not quite willing to, try up on top yet. Bob not going to be here tonight for this drive. He is here a little bit later on the program. Chris Christoforou. And Chris has picked up some live catch drives this year and made the most of the opportunities too. So don't mind, Rod going to, Christoforou. But, this is now the 5th charted line for Pat's Queen and the 5th different driver to sit behind this filly by Father Patrick. Now, one that's likely going to get a lot of attention is the Ben Bergeron trainee. That's Social Wizard, an alarm detector filly out of Royal Witch. Now, she is piece away eligible along with a few others in here. The most recent gold was August the 4th, so she missed that. But Social Wizard, she made multiple breaks in the last gold, ended up being pulled up, so she had to go back to the qualifiers, and here it is on August the 1st. Now, it wasn't anything flashy, but to me, it's not like Tyler is, he's keeping her on a helmet here for a while. He's not trying to find any kind of clearance. He's just letting her get around and get through. I thought she looks all right here. 29 seconds on the end of it. She trots in 2 minutes and 4. To me, trotting just fine in the stretch. It's not like they had to go out there and go in 57 by any means, but she showed ability in her debut, being second to Rhonda May Kay in that event. There's talent there. She's bred to be a good one, and if they are in fact, saying let's go the piece away eliminations next week, well then I think they probably want to see a pretty good effort from Social Wizard. But I don't know if that's a game plan. But just saying, because the next gold for the fillies is September 3rd. A bit of a break in the provincial program for the gold fillies. Right now, again, with some Grand Circuit action coming up. So September 3rd, and that's going to be at Grand River for the next one. I will go Social Wizard on top. I know she's 4-1 right now. She figures to get even more play than that. It's no knock by any means to the Matt Bax trainee that I didn't put her on top. She's a Chapter 7, so there's already a big attraction. She's already shown 57, speed over at Tioga Downs. Just a couple of breaks. On the resume here, if she can mind her manners, she's obviously going to get a piece of it. But I just decided to go, a few others into the mix, including some that I know you're going to say, well, they're probably reaches. And I get it. Pat's Queen, Wild Rose Hanover, but, Trevor Henry taking over, Pat's Queen in here showing me enough in the stretch. If these ones continue to make improvement, maybe they can get a good piece of it, in the lane. It's not the toughest group here. And again, that's, that can go to Trinity's Diamond too. She might be able to just handle this bunch, no problem. But I'm going to go 3-8-2-6 to start things off. We'll turn the page over to race number 2. It's our first gold division of the night. We've got a pair of them for the 2-year-old trotting colts and geldings. 90,000 up for grabs. Now, a lot different than what we saw. So last Thursday, the July the 31st, that was the makeup date from the canceled program, or the canceled last few races the week prior. So this makes it somewhat of a busy schedule for, some of these trotters, if in fact they've got, aspirations and hopes of being into the Wellwood eliminations. And then ultimately, if you go in there, you're thinking the final. So it could be a bunch of weeks in a row. But it was different too last week because 11 horses, so you've got one starting from the second tier. What it can create is some traffic And that's exactly what it did. I mean, there were a lot of these 2-year-olds that never saw the pylons, in this race. And another great mass, was able to hold on. You got some great comments from Trevor Henry and Ed Piccone afterwards, talking about how this horse, he's handy, professional, he's tough, holds on. He digs in here. We are going to show this replay again a little bit later on for a horse that was trying to get through that I want to focus in on. But, Touched by an Angel who had a flat tire, finished with a flat tire. I don't know where that happened in the race, but finished with a flat tire. That certainly didn't help his cause, but he was a good second in there for McNair and Fellows. And Tavern on the Green, this was the Luke Blade trainee that was an expensive ticket as a yearling at Harrisburg. This was his first race, and he trots in 56-4, and he's live on the end of it. He's going to get a lot of play tonight. I'll be honest with you, I'm surprised that he's not showing up on more tickets in here. I'm going to take a stand on Strobe Light. That was a tough trip for him last week. He had the 8-hole to begin with. Never saw the inside. He had to rush it in the backstretch. Never got by the leader. Was hung out. He really had every reason to pack it in and finish at the back of the bus. He still was 5th, beat less than 3 lengths, trotted in 57. If that race didn't take too much out of him, I think Strobe Light can come up with a big effort here tonight. But it's going to be a totally different scenario for all of these trotters than what we saw last Thursday, given that now it's 6 horses as opposed to 11 that were in that group last week, and we'll see the other division coming up in race number 6. We're going to move on. We'll skip over 3 and 4. 3 is the start of the early pick 4. 4 is the pick 6. Race number 5 is where we head to next for the fillies and mares on the pace. No-winners of 1 for the 5 and under in this spot here. A group of 8 where Cold Creek Fuego is installed as the morning line favorite. I think it's safe to say that this one will be the choice come post time. She was heavily favored in her Mohawk Park debut off of what was a dominant win at Grand River. This was one I believe I was putting on top when Damian McClellan was listed on the July 24th. Program was supposed to be in the finale, but again, the last few races of that card got canceled. So then she comes back last Thursday. Louis drives, ends up being first over when it was all said and done, and still fighting. Just couldn't go by Gucci Sealster, but a good effort nonetheless. And we're going to have a look back at just how this played out. And let's keep in mind, here's a 3-year-old that didn't race at 2. She's only got 3 starts. This obviously being her third and most recent, but a first over test, first time over the big track. Showed enough gate speed to get positioned well from an inside draw. I would say, outside of getting the victory, the connections have got to be thrilled with how she performed in here. 53-4 is what she ends up pacing. If she even just comes up with an effort like that again tonight, I think she's going to be awfully tough to defend against. And, we just think that with, a little more foundation underneath her, she'll be all right. Now, the one that Cullen's driving, it'll be all right. She's got the 7 saddlecloth again here tonight. She scares me in this spot. She showed gate speed, left out of there quickly, sat in, took somewhat of a shuffle off the last turn, and then to me was searching for some room in the stretch there. How would she have finished had she got room? I'm confident it would have been better than 5th. But she looked live after showing some early speed, so keep an eye on her. Many of us going 6-7 or 6-1, as you can see there, and that's exactly how I kind of see it. Everybody on to Cold Creek Fuego, we agree there with the expected odds-on favorite in here. Now, one that I tossed in on the bottom, Cobra Kate. Now, Cobra Kate, I don't know what's been going on with her lately, but if you go to some of those bottom lines, she was pacing some pretty good miles that would stack up quite well here. She's got an inside post. Paul McKenzie back aboard. He drove her in Hanover. But the fact that her last 2 starts have not been very encouraging, and then she's missed a month of action, I'd have to say something was obviously amiss. So she's been given some time off by Kevin Bodds. Comes back here tonight. Don't be surprised if Cobra Kate is firing late in the stretch. She likes to put in some good late rush, and I think she can make her way into that superfecta. 6-7-1-3 for me in race 5. Let's go to the 6th. This is the other gold for the Chiro Colt and Gelding Trotters. Field of 6 years well with $90,000 up for grabs in the black. The morning line favorite. I know we finished 10th in a field of 11 after, as the favorite too in the latest gold, but listen, he was wide in the opening turn. He was wide on the last turn. And I think it just ultimately caught up with him. And you could see, you know, with Jody, the way that he sat on him in the stretch, Jody knew, you know, okay, this horse, he's had enough. The good news is he hasn't missed any kind of time. He's back here, you know, tonight on a regular rotation and likely gearing up for the William Wellwood along with First Class Mass and DA Mastermind. That's the other pair in here that are also eligible to that. But I do want to go back to that gold again last week. We were focusing just on, you know, some others that were in the first division earlier, but now I want to focus in on Christopherou's charge for Kyle Bossons and DA Mastermind, an expensive yearling ticket at the London Classic sale for $120,000. The Muscle Mass Colt, who had two really good qualifiers getting ready, but then made a break in his first start. He was better his next outing, and then I thought very good here. You know, got away well, stayed in, was searching for some room. You can see him; he's able to get in between horses here in the Green Gazoo and also Strobe Light. But then Chris he's following the eventual winner. On the straightaway, though, I know you can see that Chris kind of ducks inside. Never was enough room. Never was enough room. So why start him up? Where are you going to go? All over Trevor's back or off the track? You know, those are your options. And DA Mastermind, bottom line is it was a good effort from him. He was live. I think he's, you know, he's starting to show, you know, the connections, just what he was showing, probably training down and in those June qualifiers. And I think DA Mastermind could come up with a winning effort here tonight. I'm going to try him, but in the black, if he comes back and wins for fun, not going to be surprised in the least. In First Class Mass, he's going to be a play of some in there. I know Garnet there's got him. Ghislain, big-time win candidate, very impressive in his debut. I would not judge him harshly for what happened to him in the gold last week because, listen, he had the 11 hole. Any 2-year-old, that's going to be tricky. That's just something that, you know, they're generally not going to see. Maybe that's why he made the break. I wouldn't be surprised in the least. He did get back into contention. And I mean, by contention, I know that he was 11th throughout until ultimately finishing 9th, but he was only beat, you know, just over 5 lengths. It was actually a pretty tightly bunched group. And he trotted home in 27-2 after that early miscue. But First Class Mass, I know the rail's not the easiest spot, but he handled it just fine. In a qualifier and his pari-mutuel debut on July 10th. So I think he's got a big, the inside pair are both obviously big ticket items to be able to rebound here tonight. That's the 6th race gold that we're going to be focusing in on a little bit later on. We've got another good race on the docket here tonight. It's the When You Wish Upon a Star final. So we've had the Millard Farms already for the trotting colts, then the trotting fillies on Tuesday night with the Pure Ivory. Tonight, the pacing fillies for the When You Wish Upon a Star. And then the 2-year-old Colt Pacers wrap up with their 2-year-old series tomorrow with the Dreammaker. And all of those series have been, you know, launching pads for a bunch of stars in the past. And we could see that here with the When You Wish Upon a Star final. We've had some great fillies, you know, win this race over the years. You know, just thinking even recently, Sylvia Hanover. And look what she's, you know, kind of gone on to do. I think Bob McClure, he's won this race multiple times. He's got himself, obviously, a very live one in Jay. And Jay's the one that's going to try for the sweep. And some are probably going to try to beat her tonight with, I'm going to think, maybe an Adina Hanover in here. But I'm going to stick with Jay and this Daughter of Cattle Wash. Let's look back at the July 31st Leg 2 outing from her. You know, she was able to move her way to the front pretty early in here. Got a nice soft middle half of 58-4 after 27-4 opening quarter, and then kicks home in 26-4. But if you just watch her, I mean, she's doing this, in my opinion, relatively easily. You know, Bob's still got a pretty good hold on her. You know, he's maybe chasing her along slightly, but I can tell by Bob's body language, he doesn't seem to be too concerned. He knows that she's still pacing hard. Brian's Halo race is great for Jameson up the inside. Adina Hanover to be first over for quite a way. She raced really well. Twinbee Fierce. I mean, I am a fan of this filly, and I think Team McNair have got a nice filly in here that comes from a good family. She got a perfect trip, wasn't able to outkick them, but she still came home in 26-4. You know, in here, some of these are, you know, as some of the starts start piling up, we're going to start seeing some better and better performances from them. But shockingly, I'm the only one going with Jay. At least on this board, to go for the sweep. Garnet's going to try Cackleberry, should be a price. And then Adina Hanover looks like the more, you know, obvious alternative to the expected favorite in Jay, and that's where Kevin and Ghislain will go. So race number 8, that is the nearly $80,000 When You Wish Upon a Star final. That's a closer look at a bunch of the races we've got on the 10-race card. Kevin Plaucho, we get his thoughts throughout the night with his handicapping, and we're going to get his early pick 5 thought. So he's giving himself plenty of coverage right here in the opener. I don't blame him, as he's got 2, 3, 6, 8, and 9. I like that he's tossed in Pat's Queen in here. Could be an upset prospect to keep an eye on. Race number 2, he's all in on Strobel. I like that too. I'm going to take a stand on that guy. Race 3, he's going to go Century Lunar and Dolly Daydream in that pop-up series action, and then wrapping it up with a couple of singles that he's trying to get on. PL Stevie in the 4th, and then race number 5, Coal Creek Fuego, I think is going to be a pretty popular single in the multi-leg plays as well. So good luck to Kevin and anybody else playing along in that early pick 5, which is guaranteed, of course. That's $75,000. Looking ahead to this weekend, I already sort of teased it a bit of what we've got going on the Friday card. Well, early Friday, race 3, in fact, to start the early pick for us, the $36,000 Fillies and Mares Preferred. Chantilly puts her perfect record on the line against a different-looking group. This is, it's tough because she's a 3-year-old against these older, which she's never had to do, obviously, and a very good group of older pacers. Can she beat them? Certainly. I didn't do handicapping tomorrow, but I'd be putting her on top. But there are bigger fish to fry, coming up with some stakes engagement. I know the Lynch is what they're eyeing south of the border, for the follow-up start to that. Also on the program tomorrow, the Dream Maker. Race number 8, 79 grand. You've got Dad in there, Sweet Lovin' Lou on the outside, post position 8. He's undefeated in his first couple of starts as well. Nice looking group of rookie pacers as well here. And then out of town at Hoosier Park, they're going to play host to the $300,000 Dan Patch. Great looking event in there. They've got 11 in there. Irvin Hanover, it was based on earnings. And Irvin Hanover just missed. He ends up being also eligible, so he's going to have to hope for a scratch to get in. We do see, obviously, a horse that we know very, very well from these parts. It's Desperate Man. Little Rocket Man's been on fire this year. Coach Stefanos, James McDonald having some success. Irv's son Marcus is going to do the driving from a great draw. He was the runner-up in this event last year. Actually, was second in a dead heat in there. Sabonis, By the Missile. It's a who's who of some older pacers in that grade 2 Dan Patch Stakes. Looking forward to that from Hoosier Park tomorrow night on the program. And then Saturday here, we've got one division of the gold for the Thrill Trotting Fillies, $140,000, and only 6 of them. Tyler Boyce Sprite Sealster, the morning line favorite from post position number 4. But there's some good ones in here, and any one of them that are really liable to just kind of pop up with a big effort and maybe take home the latter share of that purse. Also on Saturday night, you're going to want to stick around and do your handicapping. I know the program is out. I just picked mine up here tonight because we've got a mandatory payout in our Jackpot High Five. That's going to be slated for our finale on, I think we have 11 on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. But coming into tonight, we're at $225,000, just over that. So if it doesn't go tonight, doesn't go tomorrow, we're going to be in the neighborhood, obviously, of $250,000. And there's a look at the field. So yeah, it is race 11. That's what we've got on the Saturday night. So it's not going to be as late as we've seen in the past, on whether it be a stakes night and it ends up being, race 12 or 13. So it'll be a little bit earlier than we're accustomed to, but as the race office likes to do, they'll put together an overflowing field, a couple of second-tier starters, and this is what we've got for a good-looking group of mare pacers for that mandatory Jackpot High Five payout. Again, check out the website, or if you're on track here, grab a program at customer service and get a head start on that handicapping on Saturday for the mandatory payout. Looking forward to that. Next weekend, it is the big event at Woodbine Racetrack in Rexdale with the running of the King's Plate. And the King's Plate, look at what they've put together for a wagering menu. $1 million in guaranteed pick 5 pools, $200,000 in the early pick 5, the mid pick 5, $400,000, and the late pick 5, $400,000. And I mean, they're likely to be even larger than what the guarantee is. There's going to be a mandatory payout in both the Power Pick 6 and the Jackpot High Five. Now, I know their High Five was just recently won, so it's not going to be any kind of a massive carryover going into it, but knowing that it's going to be a mandatory, it will attract attention. Because you know that it's going to be paying out in there. So good luck to them. Looking forward to that. The draw early next week for the King's Plate in the Canadian Triple Crown as that gets underway. So looking forward to that as well. Plays of the night, here's what I put together. All in like Kevin Plouch is on Strobe Light in race 2 in that first gold. I'm going to call on Flanagan's Sunshine. I don't think he's going to be any kind of a major price, but I'll call him to an upset because I don't see him being the favorite in the 4th. Speaking of a horse I don't see being the favorite, Trudy Bird in race number 7. I'll tag along with that one to beat the fave. And On Time Delivery. Hopefully he's feeling good physically, and he can right the ship in the finale. Jody Jamieson sticks aboard the Osceola Pupil, and that's going to be in race number 10 to close out our Thursday program. Other handicappers and their thoughts: Ghislaine going Tavern on the Green in race number 2. Kevin Ploucha with Strobe Lights. I like it. And GB is First Class Mass in that other gold coming up in race number 6. Well, all the best to that lineup of handicappers, and good luck to all of you playing along in this Thursday 10-pack that's going to get underway in about 15 minutes. We start it, as always, with the early Pick 5 guaranteed at $75,000. We'll take a timeout. We'll be back here shortly to start breaking it down.